Hi, I'm Amy Wetsch. I'm from Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm a current MFA candidate at the Mount Royal School of Art at Maryland Institute College of Art. In my studio practice, I'm very inspired with thinking about the human body and the diseases and illnesses a human body can have. It all roots from a very personal perspective things and from being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease when I was very young. But I'm just very fascinated with the body confusing things inside of itself and attacking itself and trying to convey that in visual terms. And more recently, I've really been thinking about how our modern culture goes about with treatment of these diseases and illnesses, and how there's an overprescribed nature within the whole medical realm. With this piece, I'm very materially driven, so I knew I was going to create something colorful and interesting for this symposium. I basically collaged so many materials onto the surfaces of this sculptural installation. Materials such as moss, gauze, infusion tubes, there's melted medicine cups. There's a lot of glue within this piece. Some materials are used just because of convenience, or if I'm really fascinated by a material, I'll use it. For instance, I saw a bunch of Christmas ornaments on sale, and I love materials, so I bought so many boxes of ornaments, and you can see some black ornaments coming through, and there's a few red ones in other pieces. So the significance of that isn't much, it's just my desire to manipulate materials. But other materials are used for specific purposes, such as the melted medicine cups and the tubes that circulate the sculptures. With those, I'm really trying to convey to the audience to think further as to why these medical equipments are on these organic sculptures, and if they are helping the sculpture or harming the sculpture, which brings me back to thinking about if we do have an overuse of medication and overprescribed nature of medicine. These sculptures are inspired from many things, such as I've been thinking a lot and reading a lot about trees and their networks through their roots, and how they're so intuitive and can heal one another, and they help each other live. So these forms reference like all different types of trees and just like natural things in the world in relation to the body. But I'm also thinking a lot about invasive species and how they can take over other organisms, they can take over land. And I'm kind of running that parallel with the body. When you have a disease or illness inside of you, sometimes that takes over parts of your life, but also even more so what I'm thinking about is how medicine can also be like an invasive species. Sometimes the side effects of medicines are more harmful than the original condition. Being diagnosed with an autoimmune disease when I was very young, I've dealt with many side effects, and it just makes me want to raise awareness and question why people why people want to take so much medicine, and they go to the doctor and they want a pill, but to like step back from that, what are other things that we can do as a society to prevent these diseases from even happening? And then when they are here, how can we deal with them better? How can we use natural remedies and methods that aren't harmful to deal with these type of things? And I think it needs to be talked about more. Also, just the other day, a lady was staring at my work, and she saw these tubes, and she was like, oh, that reminds me of when my daughter was getting chemo, because these are the tubes that they use. And that's something that is really interesting in my work, because people want to open up and talk about these things and their experiences. And I think my work almost creates a safe ground to open up and feel comfortable with expressing all these human emotions and feelings and concerns that we have about disease and illness in our culture. I'm super fascinated with how things look under a microscope, and seeing all of these microscopic organisms. When I was little, I remember for one Christmas all I wanted was a microscope so I could just look at things forever under it. And I mean, it's funny today how that's still in my practice. I'm still looking at all these cellular images and microbes, and it's influencing my work in that way.